Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Lawrence Rapp. I'm principal consultant with Seawise Consulting Group. We specialize in project management for major refits and new buildings. And this afternoon, I'm here to introduce Gabriele Cafaro, Chief Executive Officer of Marine Interiors. Marine Interiors, as many of you know, is the outfitting subsidiary of Fincantieri Group, the largest new building constructors in the world. Mr. Cafaro joined Marine Interiors in 2014 when it had a total turnover of about $30 million and was employing about 90 full-time employees. Last year, that same company had a turnover of over 220 million with 370 full-time employees. So the growth has obviously been fantastic. Today, Mr. Cafaro will be speaking on the role of original manufacturers in the dry dock and refurbishment process. So having said that, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Cafaro.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. And first of all, thank you to the organization. This has been a very nice experience, and it was needed in this industry. And as many other speakers in the previous conferences have already highlighted, this market, the cruise market and consequently the interiors cruise ship market is changing dramatically. We are having a very, very steep increase in volumes and in complexity, since the fleet is growing by 30% in the next 6 to 7 years, will grow again. And also, it's not only a matter of numbers, but it will be also a matter of complexity and the variety and of typology and changes in design and in functionality of when it comes to interiors. With this respect, I would like to stimulate your attention to something which is really peculiar of our business. That is the role of the OEMs into the refurbishment segment. And I will bring some example also coming from other industries. And I think that my opinion is that if this diversity that also allows for the growth of companies that did a very, very good job in this segment, if this diversity was affordable in the past, I think that with the changes that we are going to face in the next years, I think it will be no more sustainable exactly in the way we're looking at it now. So if we can move to the first chart, this is just a stupid example on a business-to-consumer perspective. So if you think about something of the object that you usually have, or maybe hopefully have, or an iPhone, or a nice watch, or a nice car, the first thing that comes to your mind when you need to repair or re-put it in function, regardless of the warranty issues, it gives you the first impact if you look at our industry from another perspective of what in the consumer segment should be done or usually done. Having said that, we can go to the next one. I assume that even in our industry, as it happens for other industries, the involvement of the OEM into the refurbishment segment could allow for a deep cross-fertilization. For many reasons, we have summarized some of them, I think that are not even exhaustive. First of all, the design, of course, if you have built a ship, you have lived with a ship with 3 years, maybe more, even in the pre-phase of the mock-up or when it was thought, and you know exactly all the as-built design, all the as-built drawings, and you can bring into, in a moment in which the ship needs to be redesigned, refurbished, the reliability of design configuration, the integration with equipment that is always a headache for everybody when it comes to the dry docks, and other disciplines such as the hull, and of course a reduction of the time to market, because you start from a point which is not the same point in which the other guys are starting this experience. Of course, there is a matter of scale, because the new building is a business that is, for its nature, it's a bigger and wider business, and for long-standing periods. So you can benefit in the purchasing phase for a loyal supplier networks that can guarantee you for the same price the quality, and for these guys works in the same way that it works with you, because all the suppliers that have worked with you, with the integrator, with the OEM in the first construction, they already know the project as well, know the material as well, and in the 90% of the cases, they have already produced exactly the same supply that needs to be renewed. And then in terms of onboard activities, that is crucial, as we already listened in the previous conference that has been taken these days. The knowledge of the project could lower the number of surprises that you could find on board, and so lower the hours of interventions, and also a possible reduction in preparatory works, in the demolitions, and in terms of waste production. What we believe it's the benefit in terms of impact on the overall refurbishment products can be something like very aggressive in terms of design, so you can save up to 20% of design hours. A 10% is reasonable in terms of purchasing prices, and also 3 to 5% in terms of hours of installation. If we go to the next, so we can see how in other industries the major operators are moving. There is, if you look at aeronautical, automotive, and also in other industrial goods such as cables, you can see that there is one trade union in the movement that they are having, and in how they're changing their business model. Everyone is passing with a concept that is, we're passing from selling a product to let me say, a business model which is more linked to the life cycle, to the entire life cycle of the project. And this is, on my opinion, something that we should take into consideration when it comes into a market that is growing so dramatically and in which the complexity is growing so fast. We can move on. This shows also the main difference, the peculiarity of our business. We see that in many other industries, the percentage of the refurbishment market that OEM are taking for themselves is very, very high. And traditionally, and now in our segment, this is not happening, and it's less than 10%. So this is something that maybe has also historical reason, and that shows how much this thing can be, if it's affordable in the longer term. And anyway, shows a very, very big difference between our segment that is an exception to the normal, to the standard industrial goods. We can move on. On my opinion, this is there is a way to benefit from both the experience, because there isn't a perfect model. I think it's very wise to have a look at other industries and how they're moving. But of course, we need to save what is good in our industry. If we look at from the opposite perspective, if we look at it from the opposite perspective, the refurbishment players that have done a wonderful job up to date, they have done, on my opinion, twice the effort that should have been done if this information, these assets would have been in their hands since the beginning. And they have developed an incredible and terrific job in terms of project management and installation services, exactly because it was due to eliminate the gap that they were facing because of not knowing the project from the beginning. So, in this complex and growing market, and as the conference of the other day, when they said, it was the conference with Royal Caribbean, with Damon, and with MJM, in which, as been mentioned, we need new suppliers coming in, but it's very hard to find them in this market because reliability, and we cannot we cannot miss even one day. So in this, let me say, scenario, I think that the only approach that can help is to look at it from a life cycle perspective. So we need to understand from the new building perspective that the business is not ending when the ship is leaving the yard. And from the refurbishment perspective, we need to understand that the business is not starting when the ship is leaving the yard. The business is continuous, and it starts at the signing of the contract, or even before, and it ends at the end of the life cycle of the ship. So I think that a strong collaboration, cooperation at a system level, from the architect to the ship owner to the yard, including the OEM that should provide a life cycle manager inside the ship for a longer period, could eliminate many of the headaches and lower a lot of the risk and also the cost that we are facing today, even with continue cooperating with the best practices that has been developed in these years in the refurbishment segment without having this asset in mind. That's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. One quick question from my side. Where do you see the role of the traditional refurbishment outfitters in this scenario?
Is this working? Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, I think that they have developed something which is an asset for all the industry now, in terms of quick, lean, and exact program management and logistic. And I think that this kind of asset is not to be lost and needs to be leveraged with the knowledge of the project since the beginning. So I assume that, as I said, with the growing complexity and with the growing volumes, I think that in the latter part, this traditional refurbishment operators needs to still be involved.
Very good. Are there any questions from the floor? All quiet. All right.
Very quiet.
Well,
Well,
Mr. Cafaro, anything to add from your side?
no, just thank you to everybody for your attention and for this wonderful show.
Yeah. So a new perspective on how we do refurbishment going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.